Composer William Grant Still grew up in the southern United States in a time when lynchings, institutionalized racism, and segregationist Jim Crow laws had reached new heights. As Black Americans struggled to rise above these forces of hate and bigotry, a philosophical great debate arose between two important community leaders of the day. W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington sharply disagreed on methods for social and economic progress for Black Americans. In 1895, Booker T. Washington gave his Atlanta Exposition speech, advocating for Black uplift through self-improvement and dignifying common labor.
Our greatest danger is that in the great leap from slavery to freedom, we may overlook the fact that the masses of us are to live by the productions of our hands.
Washington preached a philosophy of self-help, racial solidarity, and accommodation.
The wisest among my race understand that the agitation of questions of social equality is the extremest folly. I pledge that in your effort to work out the great and intricate problem which God has laid at the doors of the South, you shall have at all times the patient, sympathetic help of my race.
He urged Black Americans to accept discrimination for the time being and concentrate on elevating themselves through hard work and material prosperity so that they could eventually be accepted by society at large. W.E.B. Du Bois referred to Washington's speech as the Atlanta Compromise. Du Bois believed that civil rights, political representation, intellectualism, and higher education were the keys to Black progress. He argued that social change should be accomplished by fostering the small number of Black Americans that were college educated, a group he referred to as the talented 10th. He wrote that Black Americans should focus on developing the best of this race, that they may guide the mass away from the contamination and death of the worst in their own and other races. The disagreement between these two leaders, which became known as the Great Debate, helped William Grant Still shape the context and characters for his opera, Highway 1 USA. And while there are clear representations of both Washington and Du Bois' philosophies in Highway 1, Still is also careful to point out the flaws on each side. Bob and his wife Mary run a filling station located in a small town in the South, somewhere along the East Coast thoroughfare now known as US Route 1. Through hard work, they have not only supported themselves, but also managed to fulfill the dying wish of Bob's mother by supporting Bob's younger brother Nate through college. The effort has left them with no savings or time for themselves. Humble and wholesome, Bob is the personification of the philosophies of Booker T. Washington. He has built a life for himself and his family through common labor and without formal education. Nate, on the other hand, is a clear reflection of the talented 10th. He believes he is the exceptional man Du Bois spoke of, but does not live up to the ideals of using his talents for the good of the community. While it's easy to see Nate as lazy and arrogant, he also illustrates one of Du Bois' own concerns for the talented 10th. Du Bois wrote, "It has been intimated more than once that the higher training of Negroes has resulted in sending into the world of work men who could find nothing to do suitable to their talents. What is one to do when there is no work, no community, no culture that will accept them as they are?" In Highway 1 USA, Nate becomes a destructive force. As Nate's struggle becomes a heavier burden on Bob, only Mary sees the younger brother's true destructive nature and sets out to expose it. But at what cost?